to keep that level of intensity and violence that carries on throughout the whole series?
Well, in the pilot episode of any show, you want to make a statement about the kind of show that it is. And traditionally speaking, when you make a period show that centers Black people, what I have found is more often than not, it is a smaller budget, as we've already talked about. And so you're kind of shooting into corners. Everything about it is diminished, which is why it becomes niche, which is why the notion of it being a Black show or a Black film happens. Subconsciously, you are telegraphing to the audience, this is small, it is Black, therefore it is not for you, mainstream audience. Whether you know it or not, that is what is being communicated. We wanted to communicate to a global mainstream audience, this is for you. This is the likes of what you saw when you watched Glory or The Patriot or those giant shows, or 1883, by the way. And so, but it's also one of the main moments where you want to start a story with Bass Reeves because it's shocking to see a Black man fighting on the side of the Confederacy against his will, with someone who has abused him most of his life, who then soon afterwards is hurling these epithets at him. And so you understand instantaneously why him becoming empowered, having been enslaved, is so impressive. And so I think it's a great place to start that. But also, you know, as I've already said, for Black people at that time, this was a breakneck period. You have seen yourself and your ancestors enslaved for centuries. You go into this moment called the Civil War, which suddenly you are no longer enslaved. You go into this period called Reconstruction, where you are afforded the opportunity to be a business person, a politician, a deputy US Marshal, but you are still in the atmosphere of all of the brutality, evil, and injustice that allowed for slavery for all those centuries. So I now have a badge. I'm about to arrest this white person, but you were the kind of person who enslaved me just 2 years ago. I mean, that is such a, I don't think we can fully understand how dangerous it must have felt to be in that space with how quickly things had changed. It's why we have Juneteenth, because so many people didn't even know for years, or couldn't truly believe that things had changed to that degree. So, you know, I think for me that this episode really illustrates just how impressive Bass Reeves is as a human being, to embrace, if you see beyond this episode, the notion of justice, having faced so much injustice in his life. I truly think it's what marks African Americans as truly special in the trajectory of this country's story, because you would have every right to be vengeful, but to now decide, no, well, we're gonna build this country, we're gonna take ownership of this country. And that very thing is why Jim Crow came in afterwards, because the ascension of Black people was something a supremacist mindset could not abide. And so that's why, you know, for me, setting this show in those 12 to 13 years of Reconstruction was so important to exhibit.
Well,